Okay, so like, imagine this. You're waiting for your Social Security check, and it never comes. Or like it's way smaller than you were expecting.
Yeah.
That's like what could actually happen in just a couple of years. And even the Social Security Administration is thinking about maybe laying off like half of all the people who work there.
Wow.
So, longer wait times, processing delays, just a total mess. And then on top of all that, we've got another problem, tariffs.
Yeah, that's right. This could be like a perfect storm, and it could hit everyone right in the wallet.
Exactly. And what's really scary is how these two things that seem totally separate, Social Security, like not having enough money, and then all the problems that could come from tariffs, they're kind of coming together at the same time.
Definitely converging.
Yeah, converging. So before we get into all the complicated stuff, if you like these deep dives, make sure you subscribe for more.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's rewind a little bit and talk about what the Social Security Trust Fund is and how it all works. So it's been around for a long time, and it's supposed to help people who retire and people with disabilities, give them some money to live on.
Exactly. It's like a safety net.
Right, a safety net.
Right.
And it's paid for by taxes. The people who are working now pay, those taxes go into the trust fund, and then the people who are eligible get paid from that.
That's right.
But here's the problem. The money that's coming in, it's not enough to keep up with the money that's going out.
Yeah, we're getting to a point where in just a few years, that trust fund might not have enough to cover what they've promised to pay everyone.
And how soon are we talking?
Some people are saying as early as 2033.
That's so soon.
I know, it's right around the corner.
And nobody really knows what's going to happen when that happens.
Right. It's possible that they'll just cut everyone's benefits, but we just don't know by how much or like who it will affect the most. It's just a lot of unknowns.
It's really stressful for people, I bet.
Yeah, definitely.
Now let's talk about layoffs. How could losing jobs make this whole Social Security problem even worse?
Well, every time someone loses a job, they stop paying into Social Security, through their taxes.
Right.
And so the fewer people paying in, the harder it's going to be for Social Security to stay afloat, especially when it's already having problems.
And it's not like we're just talking about this as a hypothetical either. I mean, VA, they're already planning to lay off something like 83,000 employees.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot of people suddenly not paying into the system anymore.
Right.
And that makes you wonder how many other organizations might be thinking about doing the same thing.
It's a real concern. And if a lot of places start laying people off, it could be really bad for Social Security.
Okay, so now let's talk about tariffs. Where do they fit into all of this?
Okay.
So you probably already know, but tariffs are basically taxes on stuff that we buy from other countries.
Imported goods.
Right, imported goods. And the idea is to make those things more expensive so people will buy stuff made here instead.
Right, by American.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but it's not always that simple.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work out the way they planned.
One of the biggest worries is that tariffs actually hurt the people they're supposed to help because everything gets more expensive. We've already seen it happen.
Where?
Target, they're already raising prices on stuff they had before the tariffs even started.
So they're just using it as an excuse to charge more.
It seems that way, and that's a big problem.
Yeah, it's like they're hiding behind the government to make more money.
Exactly. And then there's the problem of jobs.
Oh yeah, how does that work?
Well, when businesses have to pay more because of tariffs, they have to find ways to save money. And one of the easiest ways is to get rid of employees.
So tariffs could actually cause people to lose their jobs.
Yeah, that's the worry. And it's a vicious cycle, because if people lose their jobs because of tariffs, then fewer people are paying into Social Security, which makes the problem even worse.
Okay, so for everyone listening,
Yeah.
what are you most worried about when it comes to Social Security?
Yeah, let us know.
And hit that like button if you're finding this helpful, and let's keep going. So we were talking about how tariffs can cause job losses, which of course means fewer people paying into Social Security.
Exactly.
And then there's this whole global trade war thing. Other countries are starting to put tariffs on our stuff too.
That's right. It's like a big game of chicken. Everyone's trying to see who can hold out the longest.
Yeah, like Canada, they've got tariffs on some of our stuff, like milk.
Right. That's a famous one.
So who's going to win this trade war?
That's the big question. And honestly, there are no easy answers. The global economy is so connected that a trade war could hurt everybody.
Yeah, it's risky, and nobody really knows what's going to happen.
It's a real mess. So let's bring this back to, like everyday life. How could all of this economic trouble affect regular people?
Right.
Well, if Social Security runs out of money, you could end up waiting way longer for your benefits or having to deal with all kinds of delays and problems. And then there's just the stress of not knowing what's going to happen with your retirement. And for a lot of people, Social Security is all they have to live on, so it's a huge deal.
Absolutely. And then if the tariffs cause people to lose their jobs and the economy slows down, well, that affects everything.
It sure does.
Like how much you pay for groceries, the value of your house.
It's all connected. One thing happens and it sets off a whole chain reaction.
So is there anything we can do to fix this? Are there any solutions people are talking about?
Well, yeah, there are some ideas, but they're all kind of controversial.
Like what?
So for Social Security, some people are talking about raising the retirement age or making people pay more in taxes or even changing how they calculate the benefits.
Those are some pretty big changes. A lot of people wouldn't be happy about that.
Exactly. Social Security is so important to people that any changes are going to be a big deal.
What about the tariffs? Is there any way to like calm things down before it turns into a full-blown trade war?
Well, diplomacy is really important. You know, world leaders need to talk to each other and figure out trade deals that work for everyone.
So finding a way to protect our own interests, but also cooperate with other countries.
Exactly. It's a tough balance.
It sounds really complicated.
It is, but a trade war would be so bad that it's worth trying to find a peaceful solution.
I agree. So this whole thing is making me think about globalization. You know, if tariffs and trade wars become the normal way of doing things, what happens to the idea of countries working together?
That's a great question.
It seems like we could be moving away from that interconnected world that we're used to.
Yeah. What do you all think about that? Let us know in the comments. And if you're finding this discussion helpful, don't forget to give us it really helps other people find this stuff.
So are we heading towards a world where every country is just looking out for themselves?
It's possible, but it doesn't have to be that way. We can choose a different path. You know, one where we're still working together.
Yeah. I hope we can find a way through all this, you know, figure out how to work together and solve these problems.
It's not going to be easy, but it's too important to give up.
Well said. So this has been a really interesting conversation, but it feels like we've only scratched the surface.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot more to unpack here, you know, when it comes to economics and trade and how we take care of people who need help. There's always more to learn, right?
For sure. And as we learn more, we'll keep talking about these issues and what they could mean for the future. But, you know, we've covered a lot today and it's a lot to take in. So it's understandable if you're feeling kind of anxious about all of this, you know, the Social Security problems and the tariffs.
Yeah.
It's not exactly good news.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming.
So before we wrap up, let's talk about what you can do if you're feeling worried about all this.
That's a really good question. And it makes sense to feel anxious when there's so much uncertainty.
Yeah.
But just worrying about it doesn't really help you have to do something about it.
So what can we do? I mean, it feels like this is all so big and out of our control.
Well, the first thing is to stay informed. The more you know about what's going on, the better decisions you can make. And you can start supporting the policies that you think are best.
Don't just believe everything you see on the news.
Exactly. Dig a little deeper, ask questions, get different perspectives.
That's what we're trying to do here. You know, give you the information you need to understand all of this.
Exactly. Knowledge is power.
Right. And once you have that knowledge, you can use it to talk to people. Contact your representatives, get involved.
Absolutely.
And don't forget about talking to people, you know, your friends, family, neighbors. Share what you're worried about. Listen to what they think. Maybe you can come up with some solutions together.
It's so important. We're all in this together. And if we work together, we can make things better.
It's easy to feel helpless, but even small things can make a difference. Staying informed, talking to people, fighting for change, all of that helps.
Yeah, the future isn't just something that happens to us. We can make it happen.
Wow. That's a powerful thought.
It all starts with each of us taking responsibility.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your insights.
It was my pleasure.
And thank you to everyone listening for joining us on this journey.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Before we go, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our future episodes. We'll keep breaking down these complicated topics and giving you the knowledge you need. And if you like this discussion, give us a like and share it with anyone else who might find it helpful. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay hopeful. We'll see you soon.